I found myself sort of wandering around in my mind about what do you want to be when you grow up, which is happens kind of regularly. Maybe regular is not the right word, but it certainly periodically happens. Uh, there's this word, your calling. When you go into, it was my calling to go into ministry. I don't know. There's always been pretty much everyone around me calling. Calling's a big thing. I don't know if it is. But I do know it's about building something. And I don't mean something extraordinary. Actually, I think it's more about building something ordinary. But I think calling is just about, not like a destination or something in particular, not one big thing, but maybe it's 1,000 small yeses. And you just start building. Like somebody needs to say yes and see it and just start building. And it got me thinking about a story that I've used before in talks, and it just fascinates me, but I haven't thought about it in a while. But it's the idea of imagine spending your entire life building something that you would never live long enough to see completed. It's sort of like planting, a date tree, and they take years and years before you see dates coming. But imagine planting a date tree knowing that you will never taste the fruits. You'll never know the sweetness of the dates from that tree. Somebody else will. But it's the idea of spending your life building something that knowing you wouldn't see it completed. I don't know that we think about that often. I think that has a little bit of like, I could feel it getting stuck a little bit. But it's what happened with St. Vitus Cathedral. St. Vitus Cathedral is in, I believe, in Budapest. Somebody will correct me in a comment if it's not. You'd think I'd know for the video. I used to. But construction on St. Vitus Cathedral began in 1344. 1344. And it wasn't fully completed for nearly 600 years. 600 years. Could you imagine being the architect? Whew. So you have the architect, right, drew up all the plans for this cathedral, and you knew you would never see it completed. The people who laid the first stones never saw the finished building, and they were never going to see it. They knew that they would never watch sunlight pour through the stained glass and see it just, color everywhere on the walls. They knew they would never hear music echo throughout the completed sanctuary. They knew they would never stand beneath the finished ceiling. They knew they would never, attend weddings and funerals and baptisms and just daily life, because then 1344 the cathedral was really the center of life. It was the center of town. So imagine that you would never know that, but you built it anyway. So I've been thinking about that idea quite a bit, in part because we live in a culture obsessed with outcomes, with metrics, with results, with demonstration, with proof, with manifestation. And frankly, I'm kind of up to here with it. And I know where that comes from. We want to know our efforts matter before we start, or even that it matters, after I'm gone. We want guarantees. And I think some of the most important things that we do, that we build, don't work that way. Certainly raising children, building communities, teaching. I just spent a week long teaching several classes. I'll never know the outcomes. justice work, loving people. Believe it or not, there's no guarantee of that. Planting seeds, right? Like the date tree. You're planting seeds that you'll never see grow. So maybe purpose is never about finishing something. Maybe it's about contributing to what's being built. Trusting that what you're building matters, even when you won't be there to see what becomes of it. So maybe some of our callings are cathedrals. And faith is about learning to build anyway, knowing you won't hear the music. So maybe some callings isn't about finishing the cathedral. Maybe it's faith learning to build anyway. And maybe calling isn't finishing the cathedral. Maybe it's just laying your stone faithfully. It's those 1,000 small yeses.